Well, you are welcome back to AM 120 on the Broadcasting Corporation of Oyo State. We are still reviewing the protest that commenced yesterday. And we have another guest in the studio this morning to discuss that topic. We have a public affairs analyst, and I'm talking about Mr. Adesumbo Badejoko. You are welcome onto the program.
It's a pleasure.
You're welcome.
Good morning, our listeners.
Now, let's begin to look at the first day of the protest. I mean, around the country. What is your take on the protest march?
Well, it's mixed reactions anyway. A mixed outcome. Down south, we could call it a successful day one because it was peaceful, well organized. The law enforcement were there to do their duty, and they did it perfectly. The Up North, things went out of hand, and we couldn't call that a success because there were loss of lives, which is not what we wanted. There were destruction of property, both public and private. That is not what we wanted. I'm sure that's not the intention of the organizers of the protest. So when you have that happening on day one, then we're going to day 10.
Is it because they are more affected?
It's sending a very bad signal to the
north?
people. Is that?
Is it because they are more affected in the north, or why?
No, it's because of the setup of that place. The north is highly volatile compared to the south.
So are you saying that the way our people were sensitized in the southwest, maybe someone ought to have engaged them, maybe someone ought to have sensitized them, told them the implications of destroying, public assets?
Unfortunately, this whole idea of we are hungry started from the north. Some of their leaders started it. In fact, an emir told the first lady that tell your husband that we are hungry. And, that statement began to echo from there. And Islamic clerics said, we are going to protest, but it's going to be peaceful. But 5 days ago, the same man was at a gathering in Kaduna saying, we're not going to protest again. But, the last guy said something, there's one way command. We used to say it down here that they only hear go. By the time you say come, they are not listening to you again. So you've told them go. And that is what the last thing they had. By the time you are saying come, they have already gone. So that's what happened yesterday, and that's what played out. And I think the way to stop it is what the governors of those states affected have done.
To my mind, if we had a president from the north, would they have done the same thing yesterday?
If we had president from anywhere, and the hunger is at the level it is, the inflation is at 34%, food inflation over 40%, anything can happen. It doesn't matter who is there.
Do we really have hunger, or we have food scarcity, or increase in the prices of food? What's the correct situation? Instead of just talking about hunger, is it that there is no food? Is it that the prices are increasing? What are we really looking at?
When you say hunger, it means you have no food to eat.
Do you have
when you
money
don't
to buy
have
it?
food to eat, it could be that there is no food available, or there is food available, but you cannot afford to buy it. Now, the situation now is that most people cannot afford to buy food.
Why?
Because I told you, inflation is above 40%. Food inflation, that was not the way. For instance, let me not speak the big grammar that people will. Rice, a bag of rice was less than 40,000 naira before May 29 last year. Today, it's between 75 and 80. Look at that. That's almost 100% increase on that singular item. Yes, there are some that are coming down, but at its peak, a Congo of Gari was around 15, 18, 19.
No, we bought 2,000.
You understand? But that one is coming down gradually. But rice has refused to come down.
Why?
This is it. Governments, in their wisdom, wanted to address the situation. They're coming up with this palliative. 20 trucks of rice have been sent to each state. 20. When you are saying trucks of rice, these are not rice that the federal government has grown or taken from Tinubu's farm, if you have a farm anyway. You understand? These are trucks that will be gotten from local rice millers who are supposed to sell to the market. You have given contracts to get those palliative to some individuals who are close to the government, those ones who make millions from it. Go buy at the highest bid from those millers. Mop up what's supposed to go to the market away from the market. And you now come and distribute that. Now, thank God you're a woman. Go do survey around Bodija. Local rice is now scarce in the market. What you have more in abundance is the foreign rice, because what they are distributing as palliative is the local rice. And now, that has kept the price high because some people are buying in bulk. The marketers are making sales. They are not going to drop the price.
So are you saying that now this social, investment program is a wrong way to address the situation of hunger that we're talking about? Because if government is saying, okay, let's make some provision available for the people, and that's also creating problem, it means that we're not addressing the problem.
If you are doing social intervention, your focus as a government should be what will go round.
Like what?
Food subsidy. You have removed subsidy from petrol. That is what caused this problem. And the floating of the forex, because we also import largely. We don't export much of finished goods. Now, those twin policy are jack up the inflation level. Now, what you are to do as a government is now to subsidize the food items. Government all over the world do that. You understand? And by the time you're doing that, the subsidy will go round. Rather than give some people contract to provide rice for palliative, tell the millers, we are going to give you, how much will it cost you to produce a bag of rice? They say 50,000. Okay, you had the cost of logistics to get it to the market. Say that is 10,000, 60,000. Now, we don't want you to produce, to sell more than to the market women. They are organized. They have traders association. Go to those ones. How much are you selling a bag of rice? We're selling the local rice for 60,000, the foreign rice for 70,000. This is hypothetical. I'm not saying that's the correct price. You understand? Please, we'll be giving you 30,000 on each bag. Don't sell more than 40,000. You have indirectly pegged the price, and you keep the differential to the marketers. They will make their business. The traders will make their business, but people will buy it at a cheaper rate. Now, I only need a bag to eat with my family for like 2 months. Once I buy that one, I don't go to the market again. You understand? The price will be stabilized. People will not be complaining of high food prices. Do the same thing for every other food items. The ones, as many as you can. By the time you do that, that will go around. But when you say you have bought in bulk, influencing the price up again, and you now want to distribute what you have bought, you say 20 trucks. That cannot go around in Egbeda, in a ward of Egbeda local government where I stay. You understand? And Egbeda has 11 wards. And you want to distribute 20 trucks of rice there. How many bags do you have in a truck? If it is 50 kg, that's 600. If it is 25 kg, that's 1,200. Multiply that by 20. Let's say 50 kg multiplied by 20. You have 12,000 bags. How many households do we think we have in Egbeda local government? We're not talking about 33 local governments in your state. So, which sensible government does that and think they are helping the people? That is the origin of all these things that we're talking about.
Now, with the situation you have painted, how can the government locate, the right set of maybe the growers of this food?
These people are not invisible. I told you they are organized. They have their associations. And for this president, it's very easy for him. Do you know why? The daughter is the president general of the market women.
What about the Nigerian factor?
Which one is the Nigerian factor again? We are saying provide subsidy. Do you have monitors? People, once you announce something, for instance, we have given the market women subsidy. This is what a bag of rice will be sold for. I know that is information I have. I get to the market, the person is telling me 70,000. I will ask question. You understand? That is what will happen. But when you don't announce it, for instance, they are telling us they are distributing back. People are asking questions. Where is the collection point? You understand? We don't know. But when you go directly to the market women, everybody goes to the markets. If it is above what you have told us they should be selling, we ask questions. For instance, like all these beverages, non-alcoholic beverages, they used to have recommended retail price on the bottle. You understand? When you want to buy and they tell you a price that is above what is written on the label, you ask questions.
That was the
How did you come about this? And if the person cannot convince you, you move to the next person that he will sell at the right price. That is what will be happening in the market. So that's what government is not looking at. And I told you, my theory of transactional approach of this government is not helping matter. You don't begin to say, like I said the last time I was here, that we do everything in a transactional way. You have worked for me to get to the office, I compensate you with appointments or
And
with
that
a contract.
never stop?
And that is not that is
stop.
backfiring. We need to change our approach.
Then we need to look at our institutions. Because if the cost of buying a form to contest election is as high as the amount they're buying it, this trend will continue.
Institution, you're referring to INEC. We should be looking at the political parties.
No, they're part of institutions.
Managed by the politicians themselves. What INEC can do is limited. It is the lawmakers that will say, fine, in the electoral act, put it there. No political party, if it's not done in that way, you cannot blame INEC for any party selling nomination form for 50 million. You can't. It is the law that will stipulate that when they now begin to go the law or against the law, INEC can sanction if they're empowered by the law.
Okay.
But when we don't do all of that, and because they want to really ensure that it's people like them that gets to office, Nigeria, we have this mindset. An average rich person in Nigeria is a lawbreaker. He wants to break the law. He doesn't want to really follow the due process, because he believes his money can buy everything for him. And these are the people that gets to government, and they rule with that same mindset. That, what is it? They don't think the way the masses do. But when you make the pedestal plane for an ordinary person among the masses to also compete with you, and if it's popular among the masses, he wins, defeats you in the election. By the time that one gets there, of course, the orientation is going there with will be that of service and not oppression that these ones are going there with. And that's what has led to, and this is the reason why people are protesting. That is the origin of bad governance. Bad people get into government, and of course they will govern in a bad way.
What you're not saying is that it should be stipulated in the Constitution, but with the rich also allow that to happen.
They have no choice. Why? This is where I have issues with so-called civil society organization, who will only monitor election, and they will not do much when it comes to the build-up like this. These are things that will be easy for them. Like I've once attacked Sarah. Instead of going to court to challenge all this, why not go to the National Assembly with a bill and, of course, mobilize a mass action to besiege the National Assembly until that bill is passed? Thank God we are now in the era of quick passage of bills. You understand?
Not all bills.
It's going to be easy now.
Wow.
All you need to do is just get the document ready.
Did you just say that?
I just said this, and I will repeat it. We are now in the era of quick passage. That is the era. It's a beautiful thing. Really? Yes, our democracy is moving forward.
What kind of bills?
Well...
are you saying it's a good trend?
Ideally, now let's be serious. That is the normal thing.
Okay.
In the United States, why do you think the president is always interested in his party winning the Congress? Because if the opposition takes over the Congress, whatever executive policy coming that needs legislative backing will be stepped down. You understand? Donald Trump had to suffer that. There was a time under his administration that the Congress stood down because the Speaker, Pelosi, would not pass the legislation. You understand? But when Obama was there, Obamacare had a smooth sailing because it was the same party. That is the normal thing. We made it abnormal in Nigeria, and it became worse under Saraki because it's the same political party, and you have a situation where the lawmakers were like opposition to the executive. It shouldn't be. It's a wrong mindset that we have. The right mindset is they are supposed to work in a synergy because they are both in government. But what they will be passing quickly should be what would impact the life of people positively. For instance, the workers will give you an applause to them for passing the minimum wage bill. You understand? And I'm not surprised. The negotiation took too long. they cannot afford to delay the passage of the bill again. So if it's scaled through within 48 hours, kudos to them. That's why I say we are now in the era of that.
Okay.
If you have taken advantage of that trajectory to now sponsor a bill that will put those things, if you want to amend the Electoral Act, this is the time to make a move towards it, because if you wait till 2026, we may be doing the wrong thing.
Okay, let's go back to the issue of protest. We've been talking about the protest. Now, so let's look at the number of days we're waiting for, 10 days. What do you think government can do to end the protest early enough?
It is not too late for this anyway, but the president had already fumbled.
How?
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I was waiting to hear that he will address the nation.
Okay.
But he never did.
Maybe he was doing some homework behind the scenes.
Hey, come on. Your house cannot be on fire and you'll be going to sleep.
No, but I mean, if he didn't allow this protest to hold at all, we will still talk that he's manipulating.
In his address, he will state, yes, I recognize the fact that you're going to protest.
Okay.
I am with you.
Okay.
You can protest, but be orderly, be peaceful, be civil about it. I've instructed law enforcement agencies to ensure they provide security for you, things like that. But while you're at it, at our own end, we are also doing this, and that. And of course, in the immediate, I have instructed. You understand that kind of...
Would that have prevented yesterday's protest or the happenings within the protest?
It would have toned down the violence or even prevent
in the north, that we said is a volatile end?
It would have.
How?
Because that broadcast will be interpreted in the local language over there, and they would look at it. And don't forget, I told you the North are answerable to their leaders. Once their leader says something, that is what they obey. So and this particular one had the origin among the northern leadership. So, and that's why when I see that, I say it's rather unfortunate. It's more of backfiring because they understand their environment. If the northerners are hungry, it is the fault of the northern leaders, not the fault of the federal government.
Why?
Because a good number of our resources end up there. They have more local government, they have more state, they have more governors. You understand? They have more presence of government. They refuse to govern. Agriculturally, they have the land more than the rest of us. They have more of agricultural intervention.
But they're doing it.
They started banditry to prevent food cultivation. So when you look at all of this, it's just that we need to be very factual once in a while and be realistic in our approach. I am not sympathizing. When the Southeast were at their own IPOP team, I told them vehemently that I'm not sympathizing with you. Because when this thing was at the latent stage, you were applauding. Now it become a monster. You are now want the whole nation to now be... We will not do that. The same thing goes for the North. Do you know in the midst of all of this, the suicide bombing that we've forgotten about in Borno has come again? Who are those behind those things? You now expect me to sympathize with the sponsors of that? I will only sympathize with the people whose families have been affected, not the leadership. So these are things that we're talking about. When we use politics to begin to commit crime, we should condemn it. So that is the thing.
We saw that in the eastern part of the country, it was more like in the issue of this protest, the eastern part does not exist. It was too quiet. It was too silent. We didn't hear so much.
They have enough to deal with. That was the region that was doing sit at home every Monday for almost 8 years. You understand? The level of fear. And now, 48 hours to the protest, 4 officers were killed. And IPOB leadership claimed responsibility. And you expect the people to... Now, the people are afraid. If they go out, IPOB may attack them. If they go out, police may want to revenge their men that have been killed and attack them. Naturally.
Is that intimidation or that's political?
That is double.
Or we say they are busy?
That is double.
They chose to be busy?
It is fear.
Double
due to double jeopardy that they are dealing. That's why I said they have more than enough to deal with. And that's the leaders, the late Chief Nwanyan of blessed memory, may God repose his soul. You know, these are the things he saw ahead that made him to make that pro, not knowing that he would die soon. You understand? That's why his death shook me. You know, I was taken aback.
What was his pronouncement then?
He said, he called on the people that the Southeasterners, Igbos, nation will not be part of any nationwide process. He said it. You understand? And he appealed to his people. So if this is happening, it could be as a result of what he has said. It could be due to fear of what IPOB may do to them, or what the law enforcement may do because of the killings, persistent killings of their personnel within that region. So when you look at all of this, and of course their governors have been trying to reach out, but it was a monster they created that is now that they have to deal with.
But still going forward, do you think they might still join the protest?
If they are going to join, they would have joined. There are people in other places part of the protest, but not within that place. The place is, they've had enough to deal with. They have enough to do with.
So we should naturally excuse them and let them be.
Yes. In fact, we should be doing whatever we can to help them. They are in need of our help.
I also noticed yesterday that, especially along Iwo Road, you could see that you couldn't find any of them out yesterday. It was as if they had a meeting to just stay off anything that would create problems.
They indeed had meetings. They mobilized themselves against the protest, please, because they know they stand to lose more. Around that axis, they control the commercial activities of that place. And if the protests in Iworo should go violent, it is their own shops that will be looted. So they have seen this ahead, and that's why they have to warn their people that please make sure. And people like us also help them, using our radio platform to come. If you own a shop, wherever you come from, along the major road, anywhere in your state, please, any valuable that you have in those roads, I'm saying it again now on TV, take them to safe havens, because if those properties are looted, the man that owns the complex in Kano is the one that will bear the...
Okay, quickly, let's go on this commercial. We need to go on a commercial break. When we come back, I will take more of your thoughts. We'll be right back after this commercial. Please stay tuned.
What?
Sonia tomato mix, stand up, action.
Oh.
Sonia tomato mix, stand up, action. Is it to open? Is it to squeeze? Is it to scoop and is it to stir? Dishes come alive with so much taste. Sonia tomato mix, of course. Sonia tomato mix, yes sir. Sonia tomato mix, stand up, action.
I'm in love. Oh, with you, of course, my darling.
Sonia tomato mix in a new stand-up pouch.
All right, welcome back. It's still AM 120 on the Broadcasting Corporation of Oyo State. And of course, we still have in the studio with us Mr. Adesumbo Badejoko, who is a public affairs analyst. And of course, we've been discussing about the nationwide strike, the event after. And of course, today is day 2 of that protest. And of course, you were just, of course, airing your views on the issue of our dear brothers and sisters from the eastern part of the country and how they have coordinated themselves. Okay, so let's go back to this continuous. How will you describe the way the police, for the first time in a long time, carried themselves during the process that started yesterday? What do you expect in the coming days from the police?
Well, if the protesters did not change the game, the police will also not respond. Now, let me say this thing, because I listened to the first guest. There are so many things that I wasn't expecting anyway, especially as a lawyer. Now, there's a thin line between a protest and disturbance of public order. Protest is legal, it's allowed. But the other one, disturbance of public order, is not allowed. Now, I said there's a thin line between them. Once you cross the boundary, the police will have to enforce law and order because that is their job. Now, in the process of enforcing law and order, the protesters will now begin to feel that they don't want them to protest, forgetting that they are the ones that have crossed boundary. Do you understand? So, and this is one thing that organizers of protests need to be orientating people at. That's why you have to be very, very civil in it. Ensure that those that will come out with you are those that understand these things. Now, all protests that have gone violent, including that of yesterday. Take Abuja, for instance. Suleja was the origin of the problem. Suleja is located along Lokoja, Abuja, Kaduna Highway. And it is at the entry point of Abuja. They were protesting. The police were there, no problem. But when they decided to block that highway, they crossed the line. It was an attempt for them to now, because the blockade, the barricade led to traffic situation along that highway. People were going about their normal journey they wanted to pass. So the ones that were with them could not take care of the situation. They called for reinforcement.
Well, that should be envisaged.
You understand? Mm-hmm. So when they call, it should be envisaged. But you know, when you still have too much presence of security, is to still be misinterpreted as what? A threat or a kind of bully. You understand?
Okay.
That's why I said organizers are the ones that need to understand all these things that come. Within human rights, rule of law has limitations. Stay within your rights. Don't cross over. By the time no government will allow that. These guys are also doing their own job. It's not that they are not hungry like you and I. They are hungry. But they have a job to do. Do you understand? So that is what led to, when the reinforcement came, they saw them coming, not knowing what they were coming to do. You understand? They started shouting on them. It was at that point that the whole thing went out of hand. Because the reason why they came was to open up that highway so that those who are being disturbed can continue their journey. You have the right to protest. When I saw Roswally as the venue for Ibadan, I was afraid. I had to begin to use my own influence to say, come. You need to be very civil, because Roswally too is located at the point where the interchange linked the highway. Meaning that if the crowd there is too much, there is every possibility that that highway will be blocked. And that is what the police would want to now enforce by opening up the highway so that those who are traveling. You understand? But thank God, those that came out were not that much to give us that situation. I passed there deliberately this morning on my way here to see things, and I saw that, yes, policemen were there, even Amotekun calls were there, about 6 utility vehicles were on ground, waiting for the protesters. They were not around then.
Now, do you see more protesters coming out this day?
The success of yesterday may want to encourage others. So we may have more people today, especially when the organizers are saying we are continuing. You understand? We may have more people today. But those that will come out should also ensure that they stay within the line. And if they are not aware that there's a thin line between protest and disturbance of public order, I've just educated them. They should know all this and, of course, stay within their own boundaries. Because when you cross it over, police would want to enforce the law, and in the process, you may think that they are doing their own job. You shouldn't have crossed over, because that is the origin of every violent protest that we've had.
There was something I observed yesterday, and of course, till this morning, it was still fresh in my mind. If you looked at so many videos of yesterday, you would see children in those protests. And my heart was bleeding. Why will children? So, to my mind, if there was a major violence, many of them may likely lose their lives. Why do we have children engaging or being involved in protests?
This will take me back to what the daughter of the president said, that we misinterpreted anyway. Though the way and manner he said it and the timing was wrong.
But the content?
The content is where, which need to, in every nonsense, there is always a sense. The sense in there is that the children should be prevented from joining. but we have that situation now. I blame the parents of those children. It is only an orphan that should be allowed to stray to that kind of thing.
Well, you know,
But when you are
inquisitive.
under your parents, you understand, your parents should know all these things, especially when public commentators have been telling the possibility of what may likely happen. And you are hearing it because as we speak in English, it is interpreted in Yoruba. So you cannot say you are not aware. People, your neighbor would, my son, come by. You understand? And you'll allow your children to go join. You understand? What even if there is a stampede? They are younger. They could be easily stepped upon. So that's the thing. I blame the parents who didn't take care of them very well. Yes, schools will be shut. Schools have been shut. The state exam for the junior classes stated for yesterday had to be postponed indefinitely, which are measures being taken. And these are the reasons why some of these children are at home. But they are not to go join. It's not their business. It's process for mature people that understand what they are supposed to do.
When you say matured, at what age should we have children involved? Are we saying below 18 or above 18?
The law says 18. Once you are a minor, you are assumed not to know
So
what
what should the law enforcement agencies, what could they have done? I don't know. Something should have been done to keep children away. Something else will be counting casualties.
Once they are in the midst of protesters, there is a little that the law enforcement can do.
What about the organizers?
It is the organizers that can now say, please, children, please go home. Don't worry. Or you give them something to be munching and keep them somewhere. That's is what can be done. But to the law enforcement, any attempt to overhelp or over-assist will be misinterpreted.
Now, as we begin to wrap up this segment, what's your take? What's your advice to government, to the protesters, as well as the leadership of the protest?
Government, President Tinubu, please address the public. I've given you an hint of what the content of your speech should be. The government at large, especially at the state level, should know that, yes, their states are far away from Abuja. And if things go out of hand, it will affect them before it gets to the president. These who should also address their people in their respective states, using the language the people will understand. For the protesters, I said something serially on radio that the protests had achieved the same before it started. 10 days is too much. And I was happy 2 days ago when Buhari Guruwa, who was the first to come out to be among the organizers, was now calling for the protest to take place for 1 day. Reduce your 10 to 3. That is a very good time. Government have had you. Now suspend it. Give the government time to respond or to implement the things they have said with their mouth. We would open the borders to bring in food without levies. That will crash the price if it is implemented. It will. But they have said it more than 3 weeks ago, and they have not started it. That is one of the problems that personally I have, and it's one of the reasons why the protests had to go on. So we say something, let there be immediate implementation.
Okay.
The last guest said something about the price. That cannot be immediate. It is the measure that they have given to Dangote that would work on that.
What about
but they can expedite on it. But within a month, we start seeing that difference. Then for the protesters that are out there.
And their leaders.
And their leaders understand that there's a thin line between peaceful protests and disturbance of public order. Once you understand that, there will not be any problem.
Well, I want to say a very big thank you to our guest in the studio this morning. I'm talking about Mr. Adesumbo Badejoko. He's a public affairs analyst. I want to say a very big thank you to you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
And that concludes our interview, even for today. And next is the sports segment. Please don't go away.